"Let her try," the boss scoffed, flinging a greasy glove to the ground. The garage was enveloped in frost. Olivia Turner advanced, her face marked with oil, boots clanging with every stride, her gaze piercing like a welder's flame. "A mechanic," grumbled. "She hasn't even completed high school." Joyful sounds echoed among the engineers and reporters. "Micro-coach has abandoned this," Marcus, the CEO, declared emphatically. "So now, we're allowing the janitor's child to take on the role of the hero." Olivia remained unperturbed. With steady hands, she tightened the bolt, her grip on the wrench unwavering. There were no speeches, no reactions, as they were completely unaware. She didn't merely grasp this engine. She articulated its initial phrases, even before she had the chance to drive. What actions would you have taken if you were in her situation? Did you choose to preserve your dignity, or did you embrace a challenge meant to bring you down? The decision unveils deeper insights into our character than we often realize. Feel free to share your reflections below. Each morning at 5:30, Sarah Miller made her way to the hangar, as the shadows still embraced the Seattle skyline. The security guard hardly lifted his gaze these days, having grown used to the quiet figure who glided through the darkness as if it were her rightful domain. The uniform draped over her figure, concealing the toned physique underneath. She had shed pounds over the 7 years since everything transformed. The other mechanics referred to her as a phantom, not only because her words were few and far between, but also due to her uncanny ability to blend seamlessly into the shadows of any space she occupied. Within her locker lay no personal items, save for a small titanium ring on a chain, cleverly concealed behind a false panel. She never donned it, never glanced at it while working, but occasionally, late at night, in her studio apartment just 20 minutes from the airport, she would lift it to the light and read the inscription, "Engines speak to those who listen." Her hands conveyed a narrative that her silence did not reveal. Marked by an engine explosion years prior, her right palm bore scars, yet her fingers danced. With the precision of a skilled artisan as she toiled, she opted for the day shift only, declining overtime that might have increased her $18 an hour. The younger mechanics perceived her as lacking drive. The elders had a feeling she was fleeing from something. Neither was right. She had stopped running altogether. She lingered in anticipation. The chatter in the break room enveloped her, a soft hum in the background. Narratives of weekend aspirations, grievances regarding leadership, visions of advancement. Sarah found herself in her usual spot, a corner table that had become her daily refuge. With a homemade sandwich in hand, she gazed out through the smudged glass, observing the planes as they ascended into the sky. A new hire once attempted to connect with her by inquiring about her background. Sarah's response felt rehearsed and empty, merely an attempt to get by. She never inquired again. This was the preferable outcome. Connections had become indulgences. She could no longer sustain. Her toolbox stood out as something peculiar that went unnoticed by everyone. Worn and weathered on the exterior, it housed tools valued at more than what many mechanics earned in an entire year. Digital stethoscopes, precision torque wrenches, diagnostic equipment that seemed more suited for aerospace laboratories than for a level 1 mechanic. She employed them with restraint, with precision, always in the shadows, away from prying eyes. Where others perceived mere metal and fuel lines, she discerned vibrant entities with voices that murmured their secrets to those attuned to their whispers. 7 years ago, the name Dr. Sarah Elizabeth Miller Castellano resonated with authority in every aerospace boardroom from Seattle to Dubai. As the youngest chief technical officer in the history of Pratt & Whitney, she secured 23 patents that transformed aircraft engine design. The innovative propulsion system she created at the age of 28 was set to reduce fuel consumption by 40% and extend engine life twofold. Boeing, Airbus, and Lockheed Martin vied for her attention. She achieved a 7-figure income before turning 30. The house and Queen Anne stood sentinel over Puget Sound, their expansive windows capturing the essence of the life she believed she had constructed on a foundation of certainty. The lab was her genuine sanctuary, with 200 engineers thriving under her leadership. She recognized each one by name, remembered their children's birthdays, and understood their challenges and aspirations. She advanced through her abilities, not through connections, garnering loyalty from her team while inciting jealousy from the established members who murmured that a young woman could not rightfully hold such influence. David Chen put an end to those murmurs. Her fiancé, her collaborator in creativity, the sole individual who grasped her fixation on flawlessness, they toiled for 16 hours a day, collaborating closely to transform aviation technology, all while orchestrating a wedding that would bring together two of the field's most brilliant talents. March 15, 2017, a date seared into her mind, sharp and unyielding. The latest engine prototype successfully cleared all simulations and safety evaluations. The test flight served as a mere formality, a triumphant celebration before unveiling the groundbreaking news to the world. Sarah was meant to be at the monitoring station, yet a board meeting in New York required her attendance. She placed her faith in David for the final checks, relied on him for the safety of the test crew, entrusted him with it all. The blast occurred. At an altitude of 10,000 feet, the prototype engine exploded, scattering debris throughout the fuselage. 3 engineers lost their lives in an instant. Tom Morrison, departing with twin daughters in his wake. Maria Vasquez, just half a year away from her well-deserved retirement. Rashid Patel, the groom from the wedding Sarah had recently attended. The inquiry progressed with a sense of corporate precision, prioritizing the assignment of blame over the pursuit of genuine understanding. David submitted altered maintenance logs and manipulated emails to portray Sarah as having disregarded essential safety warnings, all while advocating for the test despite his alleged reservations. The evidence was compelling, crafted with the finesse of someone who understood precisely which levers to manipulate. Yet the treachery in the professional realm seemed insignificant compared to the wound inflicted on a personal level. Sarah's sister Emma, the ever-quiet and supportive one, finally succumbed to her emotions during the investigation. She had been involved with David for 2 years. During each business trip that Sarah embarked on, and every late night spent at the lab, David was there with Emma. The wedding plans, the shared dreams, the whispered promises in the dark, all unfolding while he crafted a separate existence, with the one person Sarah held in higher regard than her own heart. The organization sought a figure to deflect blame and safeguard their market standing. David had to remove Sarah from the equation to seize her patents for himself. Emma yearned for the existence her sister had crafted. The scheme was beautifully sinister in its malice. The board presented her with 2 choices: to resign discreetly and endure a 5-year ban from the industry, or to confront criminal charges, with David's evidence guaranteeing a conviction. Her father, Ahmad Miller, a titan of aerospace and her lifelong inspiration, was present in the meeting as she relinquished her life's work. His expression was unyielding, yet she noticed the tremor in his hands. Eventually, as journalists gathered, outside her residence clamoring for comments, he issued his own response. "I do not have a daughter by the name of Sarah. The woman responsible for the deaths of those engineers due to her negligence is certainly not my kin." The words pierced more profoundly than any act of corporate treachery. She grasped the intricacies of the game, the imperative to safeguard the family name, his very legacy. Comprehension did not diminish the pain. She transformed into the engine killer in an instant. News outlets examined her life, perceiving arrogance where there was confidence and recklessness where there was innovation. The residence in Queen Anne was sold to cover legal expenses. The patents that were transferred to the company eventually found their way into David's portfolio. On a dreary, rain-soaked morning in Seattle, Sarah Miller Castellano disappeared, her absence marked by lingering debts and a cloud of shame. 6 months later, Sarah Miller appeared in Portland, seeking entry-level positions with falsified references and a resume devoid of accomplishments. The woman who once held power over millions now pleaded for a meager salary, thankful that Apex Aviation overlooked the details of her fabricated history. The day's embarrassment kicked off with Marcus Thornton's entrance at 8 sharp, strutting in with investors in tow, like a peacock flaunting its plumage. Sheikh Abdullah guided the assembly, a coalition of representatives from Middle Eastern airlines, in pursuit of maintenance collaborations valued in the hundreds of millions. The timing aligned flawlessly for Marcus, while it unraveled catastrophically for Sarah. 3 days ago, she observed the misconfiguration of the fuel control unit on key. The grounded Boeing and meticulously crafted a detailed report for her supervisor. The report vanished, likely into the depths of Brad Patterson's shredder. The head of engineering took pleasure in observing her concepts fade away without recognition, a subtle act of retribution for the woman who had once embarrassed him at an MIT alumni gathering she had long since forgotten. The procession arrived at Hangar C precisely at 10:30. Sarah was immersed in the engine bay, meticulously charting the fault patterns that could be resolved in just 5 minutes, if only someone would pay attention. Brad's voice pierced her focus. "Hey, Ghost, this is a genuine engine, not just a plaything. How about you prepare some coffee for the guests?" The investors shared a light, polite laugh. Sarah pressed on, her hands moving with an instinctive grace. As her thoughts navigated the complexities of pressure ratios, Jennifer Walsh, serving as Marcus's assistant, heightened the derision. "Ah, that's merely Sarah, our cleaning personnel, who fancies herself a mechanic. It's charming, truly, reminiscent of a little one indulging in imaginative play." Marcus recognized his chance for the stage. The morning's planned demonstration was a disappointment, as the Boeing's engine stubbornly refused to start, despite the diligent efforts of his team. His standing hinged on captivating these investors, and someone had to take the fall. "Gentlemen, allow me to illustrate the distinction between true engineers and those who merely aspire to be one." He waved his arms expansively towards Sarah, who continued her quiet task. "This woman believes that simply wielding a wrench grants her insight into the workings of engines. It's akin to suggesting that a nurse is capable of conducting brain surgery." The laughter became harsher, yet more authentic. A phone began recording. The throng grew as whispers circulated throughout the hangar. 50 transformed into 100, and then into 200. The maintenance crews left their posts, lured by the allure of an unfolding spectacle. Marcus thrived. On the spotlight, his voice escalating in volume, becoming increasingly dramatic. "Do you realize something? Let's turn this into a learning experience." Miller. Sarah finally lifted her gaze, her expression meticulously neutral. "Do you really believe you can repair this engine, the very one my MIT graduates were unable to bring back to life?" He retrieved the keys from his pocket, the sound of them clinking together reminiscent of a dog trainer's call. "This is your opportunity to demonstrate that you are meant to be here." Brad leaped in, detecting an opportunity ripe for the taking. "It's probably best to focus on the traditional roles women excel in, like preparing sandwiches. Let those with true intellect handle the important tasks." The audience erupted in cheers. A live stream has commenced on the company page, attracting 5,000 viewers and counting. Jennifer leaned in to share a secret with Sheikh Abdullah, who responded with a nod that dripped with amused superiority. Sarah rose gradually, cleaning her hands on a well-worn rag. Her silence only intensified Marcus's display. "How about this, Miller?" His voice resonated throughout the hangar, penetrating every nook, every lens. "Begin the engine in 30 minutes. I will advocate for you. Sure, I can elevate you to a position above Brad, increase joy and amusement." Brad's cheeks turned a deep shade of red, yet he managed to put on a smile. "However, when you stumble, and it's a certainty that you will, the consequences go beyond just losing your job. I will make it my mission to see that no establishment in America offers you a position, not even for the most menial tasks. You'll be the woman who believed she could compete with the heavyweights and ended up scorched." He tossed the keys down at her feet. Their impact echoed against the concrete, a jarring note in the unexpected stillness. Sheikh Abdullah contributed to the degradation. "In my homeland, there's a saying that goes, 'Even a broken clock can impart wisdom about time, yet a shattered soul, she imparts no knowledge to us.'" The words lingered in the atmosphere, heavy and toxic. Sarah sensed them embed, deep within her, not merely for the implications they held about her, but for the broader narrative they wove about every woman who had faced dismissal, belittlement or devastation for the audacity to succeed. The audience stood eager, anticipating either her capitulation or her downfall. Both options would quench their thirst for malice. Sarah remained still, the weight of 200 gazes fixed upon her. The burden of their anticipation, their nonchalant malice, bore down like an undeniable pressure. Her fingers brushed against the concealed pocket, where the titanium ring lay nestled against her ribs. 7 years of quietude, enduring each insult and every humiliation, all because she thought she was worthy of them. 3 individuals lost their lives, placing their faith in her craft. What claim did she possess to dignity? The straightforward. Our out lay ahead of her. Turn away, seek out a different store. Persist in the atonement that will always fall short. Her fingers glided over the ring's inscription, gently brushing against the fabric. Engines communicate with those who pay attention. Her father's words, shared when she was 12, resonated as she dismantled her first carburetor, grasping immediately how the components harmonized. He had faith in her at that time, as Sheikh Abdullah recounted. He had never ceased. The revelation shattered something within her, a barrier constructed from remorse and sorrow. Tom Morrison's daughters would have reached the age of 10 by now. Every Sunday, Maria Vasquez's husband continued the heartfelt ritual of placing flowers at her grave. Rashid Patel's son would remain unaware of his father's existence. The truth was something they were owed, even if it arrived 7 years behind schedule. Sarah pivoted to confront Marcus, and an unmistakable shift in her demeanor prompted him to take a step back. The shattered woman had vanished. In her stead stood a figure the hangar had never encountered before. With a straight spine and shoulders, held high, the gaze exuded a commanding presence that transcended any formal education. For 30 minutes, her voice flowed effortlessly, a testament to years spent in boardrooms, the skills honed over time surfacing instinctively. I require 10. The assured forecast resonated among the audience. Marcus chuckled, though the sound felt strained this time. 10. Even more impressive. This will be swift. Sarah approached the engine with determined steps. She unearthed her genuine tools from the concealed compartment in her box, instruments that elicited astonished reactions from the engineers who understood their value. The digital stethoscope's price exceeds what many earn in a month. She set it against the engine housing, shutting her eyes as the metal revealed its woes. Her hands danced with meticulous accuracy, not repairing but orchestrating, extracting melodies from lifeless metal. The audience hushed, sensing brilliance even if they couldn't articulate it. 7 minutes in, Sarah pinpointed the main issue in the fuel control unit, just as her overlooked report had outlined. Yet she uncovered even more, layers of errors that unfolded before her keen perception. The clash between version 3.2 and hardware spec 2.8 echoed in the engine's uneven cadence. She recalibrated the parameters in her mind, fine-tuning 17 variables that would have required a complete diagnostic team hours to pinpoint. Her scarred hand glided over the panel, making adjustments that caused Brad Patterson's face to lose all its color. "It could be," he murmured. "She is employing vector alignment. This technique is exclusive, with documentation available only in..." His voice faded as the weight of the implications sank in. Jennifer's livestream quivered as her hands shook with anxiety. The number of viewers had exceeded 20,000. Engineers from around the globe responded in droves, acknowledging the unique approach taken. Sarah remained oblivious. Her universe had contracted to the hum of the engine and its melody, the dialogue she had been deprived of for 7 arduous years. She identified 3 significant oversights that the maintenance team overlooked, any of which could have led to disastrous consequences during flight. 9 minutes and 47 seconds after embracing the challenge, Sarah took a step back. The hangar seemed to pause in anticipation as she engaged the ignition. The engine sprang to life, not merely functioning but humming with a flawless rhythm that stirred a deep envy in every engineer present. She fine-tuned the harmonics with the precision of a maestro, elevating the mechanical symphony to a peak that resonated through the floor, through bones, through souls. Then she silenced the engine, creating a stillness that resonated more powerfully than any spoken words. Jennifer's voice trembled. "In what way did you... May I ask who you are?" With a measured grace, Sarah removed her work gloves, exposing the scar that had come to define her. As she spoke, her voice resonated with the weight of someone who had shed all fears and was ready to unveil the truth. The LEAP 1B system, which I co-developed, is utilized in the Boeing 737 MAX. The issue with the fuel control unit that you've been facing arises from a compatibility problem I alerted Boeing to back in 2016. She fixed her gaze on Marcus, whose complexion had turned a dull shade of gray. I am Dr. Sarah Elizabeth. Miller Castellano, known in your field as the engine killer. Gasps surged through the crowd, creating a palpable wave of astonishment. Devices emerged, seeking validation for what defied belief. The shamed engineer responsible for 3 fatalities couldn't possibly be here, couldn't have just executed a mechanical operation that defied understanding. Brad's voice emerged in a strained manner. It can't be done. Your presence in the industry is no longer permitted. The ban expired 2 years ago, Sarah stated matter-of-factly. I decided to remain because... She gazed at the quiet engine with a sense of gentle affection. Due to their reliance on my presence. It's not about the accolades or the wealth or the fame, but rather about finding someone who truly listens when they share their thoughts. The shift within the investor group piqued her interest. Sheikh Abdullah advanced, his previous jesting giving way to a more profound sentiment. Doctor, Miller, your father mentioned you frequently. We shared a partnership that spanned 3 decades. He remained steadfast in his conviction, unwavering in his defense of his daughter's innocence, despite the mounting public pressure that sought to sway him. Sarah took in this revelation with a stoic demeanor, yet a spark danced in her eyes. Marcus discovered his voice, albeit it came forth fragile and hesitant. If you truly are who you claim to be, what would compel you to take on this role as a mechanic without any compensation? Sarah's smile lacked any trace of warmth. When everything is stripped away, you come to realize what truly holds significance. It's not about directing machines or leading individuals. It's about attuning oneself to the soft murmurs of their confidences, proving oneself deserving of their faith. She started to swap out her tools with the same meticulous attention she had demonstrated for 7 years. The crowd parted as she navigated through them, no longer an unseen specter, but something far more disquieting, a living legend who had opted for anonymity instead of retribution. She had the power to dismantle them entirely with legal action, ready to reclaim her patents through the judicial system, now that the deceit of David Chen had been unveiled by fellow victims. Instead, she gathered her well-used toolbox and readied herself to depart as silently as she had come. The livestream comments surged with fury on her behalf, calls for justice, for acknowledgement, for the downfall of those who had wronged her. Sarah overlooked everything. Sheikh Abdullah caught her just as she reached the hangar door. Dr. Miller, my airlines could greatly benefit from your expertise. State your fee. Every laboratory, every team, every project you envision. His proposal was genuine, the sort that changes destinies. Sarah observed him intently, perceiving not a chance for freedom but rather another confinement, gilded perhaps, yet still a confinement. I appreciate your offer, Sheikh, but I am currently employed. $17 an hour. Yet I have the freedom to pursue my passion without the burden of politics or pretense. No price you could propose would ever purchase that liberty. She glanced at Marcus, who appeared to have aged a decade in just 10 minutes. Set aside your concerns about the promotion or the dismissal. I'll be here tomorrow at 5:30, just like usual. Her eyes scanned the gathered assembly, a mix of engineers, mechanics, and executives, all captured in a moment of stillness. However, perhaps keep this moment in mind the next time you consider evaluating someone's value based on their title or gender. Respect is not defined by your status. It is revealed in the way you treat others, especially when they seem powerless. Sarah stepped into the Seattle morning, departing from 200 onlookers to a redemption she had never pursued. The Civic sat in its familiar place, weathered yet steadfast. She positioned herself behind the wheel yet hesitated to ignite the engine right away. After 7 long years, she finally retrieved the titanium ring and slid it onto her finger. The light filtered through the grimy windshield, casting delicate rainbows that danced across the dashboard. "Thank you," she murmured, though it was unclear whether her gratitude was directed at the machine that had allowed her to demonstrate her worth or at the father who had always remained in her life, even in the shadows. The following morning dawned with a grey sky and a gentle drizzle, embodying the quintessential springtime atmosphere of Seattle. As Sarah stepped into the hangar at 5:30, she was greeted by the inviting aroma of a steaming cup of coffee waiting for her on her workstation, without a title or embellishment, merely a straightforward message. "We apologize on behalf of everyone." She lifted the cup, savoring the rich aroma of quality coffee, genuine coffee, unlike the mediocre brew she had become used to in the break room. As she surveyed the hangar, subtle transformations caught her eye. Her toolbox was relocated to an improved station, now basking in adequate lighting. Her workspace had been tidied up, arranged with thoughtful attention. The other mechanics acknowledged her presence with nods, their indifference giving way to recognition. She had the potential to transform the viral video into recognition, publishing opportunities, and speaking engagements focused on women in STEM fields. The internet had already hailed her as a hero, taken down her adversaries with meticulous accuracy, yet Sarah Miller grasped a truth that the world overlooked in its fervor for justice and retribution. Certain victories are achieved not through strength, but through grace. Some triumphs arise not from vanquishing those who have wronged you, but from persistently pursuing your passions while maintaining your integrity. She settled next to the first engine of the day, pressed the stethoscope to its heart, and absorbed its morning melody. Forgiveness reveals a profound truth. It serves not the ones who have wronged us, but rather ourselves. It acts as a key, liberating us from the burdens of guilt and grief that we create. Sarah had devoted 7 years to the belief that she was worthy of punishment for placing her trust in the wrong individual, for her absence when her engines faltered. Yet engines are honest. They convey their truths to those who pay attention, and what they revealed to her each morning in their soft mechanical murmurs was straightforward. She found herself precisely in the right place. Would you find it in yourself to forgive if you were in her shoes? Would you opt for dignity instead of revenge, and purpose rather than recognition? The response reflects our innermost feelings, more than any machine ever could disclose. Some of us are destined for stages and executive suites. Some discover significance in the stillness that lingers between heartbeats, or in Sarah's instance, within the cadence of the piston's movement. She had experienced both sides of life, donning each existence as if they were garments that didn't quite fit. It was only through the experience of losing everything that she discovered what truly suited her. She would make her way back at 5:30 tomorrow. The coffee could possibly be present once more, or perhaps it will elude us again. Regardless, she would attune her ears to the engines as they whispered their hidden truths, and that would suffice. It has always sufficed, Romick. It's important to verify the responses as errors can occur.